Hey, it's Molly. Welcome back to my YouTube channel as we're going to discuss the Libra Solar Eclipse happening on October 14th, 2023. That's 1:54 p.m. Eastern Time, so be sure and adjust for your location on the planet. This Libra solar eclipse is when we have the sun and the moon conjunct, making it a powerful new moon, working with the south node in Libra, which is at 25 degrees. And you can see the sun and the moon are each at 21 degrees of Libra, 7 minutes. So this conjunction of this solar eclipse is really working at what you are clearing out from past experiences in Libra themes, and Libra being about connections, partnerships, relationships, people you work one-on-one with, those that you need to get along with, where you need to compromise, figure things out, negotiate. But the other part of the Libra themes is that it's about how you share your energy. And this is a checking in point on what is out of balance for you around your relationships, around your connections. What is no longer working? You've realized it no longer works. And there is something here that is a new beginning point, which is what the solar eclipse is as a powerful new moon. It's a new beginning point in your own understanding of connections, of Libra themes that you want to upgrade and elevate. And this can also be something that you reflect on with that south node right there, highlighting where you've been. Now, the south node is connected to basically a 9-year cycle. And so back in 2014 to 2015, the nodes of fate were in Libra and Aries, but they were switched, where Libra was the north node. And so you could look back on the past 9 years of your relationship experiences to evaluate what no longer works for you, what you don't want. This also brings up, what you thought you had to do for connections, what you thought it meant. And so that brings in another important thing to understand about this south node. The south node not only works in those 9-year cycles, but it also relates to where you've been and where you're coming from in your soul growth. So this can go into how relationships were modeled for you when you were younger, unconscious, unaware, when you were just a player in the family dynamic. So this could bring up what you observed through your parents. Was it healthy? Was it unhealthy? How would you describe it now? How have those other examples of relationships provide something for you to reflect on and also give you choices around what you've understood is best for you? And with these strong Libra themes, it can bring up relationships in various dynamics that you've been around and observed, again, going back to what you grew up around. And yet there's something here where I feel like the universe wants you to come back into what is truly healthy for you now, what you have to let go of to make room and move towards your truth, but to incorporate that truth into connections, to make sure that you're bringing in the fullness of your energy. Make sure that you are also, I feeling being seen. It's like it's allowing your heart to be seen, your mind to be seen, your energy to be seen, because the best connections for us accept all of who we are. And that begins with accepting all of who we are. And there's some kind of reset here that's going to continue on, especially as this south node journeys backwards and gets to 21 degrees of Libra, which occurs in December. So I think that this eclipse is bringing in new relationship assignments for you to evaluate, consciously choose to be intentional around, because then the energy continues to grow throughout the rest of this year, so over the next few months. And this solar eclipse is an ignition of something new that you're calling in, you've been calling in, you've been ready, waiting, wanting it, trusting the divine timing. And so this can bring in new partnerships. This can bring in new opportunities through other people. This can bring in more of what you truly desire through your relationships with others. But there's also this assignment of understanding what no longer works, what you can no longer perpetuate or continue to participate in. And the South Node is clearing out what that looks like for you. Now, we also have a strong Mercury here in this chart, with Mercury at 17 degrees of Libra. And this planet, it's conjunct the Sun and the Moon. And it brings in the communication and mental aspects, which is Mercury's strengths, Mercury the messenger. And Mercury in Libra brings in messages through other people. So other communications come forward. Something comes through. There's important emails or something transpires, right? Some new information shows up. And this Mercury wants there to be balance and justice, wants there to be something that can ultimately be a win-win. But this Mercury is opposing Chiron at 17 degrees of Aries. And it's an exact opposition there. And this means that there could be something that someone else decides or says that you're not happy with. This could be there is something that comes your way and you wonder, can I do this? Can I say yes to it? This Chiron in Aries is where we're working out insecurities around who we are at an authentic level. And Chiron has an unwinding process with it, where we have to look at what's below the surface. What's the cause? Not just the symptoms, what's the root cause? And we go into that in order to heal it. And so it brings up these new layers within ourselves that we're looking at that can feel quite vulnerable and that we don't want other people to see, especially in Aries, where it's like, let me just figure this out on my own. The independence of Aries, also the speed, because Aries moves fast. Well, the speed is slowed down through this opposition to Mercury. So it's an important time to slow down your communications and to make sure that you're saying what you mean thoughtfully and intentionally. You're being aware of how it's going to land, which is part of this Libra energy. We also have Juno right here. And Juno was known for being not only very intellectual and savvy, but knowing how to handle particular situations that could be tricky. So there's something here where it's going to require more thoughtfulness, conversation, dialogue, and consideration, perhaps to understand something, especially if you're having some things come up that you're not sure what to do with. Those insecurities, your own doubts, a sense of, I don't know if I can handle this, if this is the right thing. This could also be, I'm getting this visual of like understanding the consequences of, okay, well, is this going to hurt somebody? Is this going to be the right best next step for others? Like there's just more here that is designed to place our consciousness in the Libra understanding, to stretch out of that Aries understanding and think about, okay, how is this going to, work with other people, affect other people, and to be very mindful of that, be very considerate of that. Now, with this lineup of energy in Libra, We then look to the ruling planet, which is Venus. And she's over here now in Virgo. She has passed her exact opposition to Saturn retrograde in Pisces, returning to 0 degrees. This Saturn is going to station direct in early November, but is moving very slowly now and basically hanging out at 0 degrees of Pisces, also returning to a reset, coming back to something that was previously introduced or came through in March of this year. Well, now Saturn is no longer in this direct opposition to Venus in Virgo at 5 degrees, but Venus is still feeling the presence of Saturn, and this presence is reminding her to be more conservative, to hold back, to really sit with something, because she is really connected to what's going to work, what's practical. And this would have been a no that Saturn gave her when she was at 0 degrees of Virgo, when she just entered Virgo. She got a no, a pause, something challenging. And now this Venus is weighing her options and she's considering it thoughtfully. Now, she is in a healthy relationship here with Mars, which has just entered Scorpio. And so Mars is supporting her in moving forward because he has the energy and the drive to do so, to get her out of her head. And it's interesting because Virgo energy is healthy and strong when there is a beautiful synergy between the mind and the body. And I get the visualization of the mind and the body being two brains, right? Your top brain and your gut brain. And if you think of these as working together, there's a nice synergy. There's a nice sense of, okay, we're working together here. The energy is moving because the mind is synced up with the body is synced up with the mind, and so a lot more can get done and be productive. There's a lot of mental energy with this Libra solar eclipse. There's a lot that you could be thinking through, and you want to be very intentional with your next choices, with your next steps. And here we have this Venus in Virgo who wants to go slow, who doesn't want to mess up. And because she's so prominent right now as the ruling planet of all the planets in Libra, including the South Node, there's something here that she has wisdom to guide us through, but it just feels like a slowness. It's a slower, methodical approach. And there's something that we're meant to be very deliberate with. So this Venus in Virgo, she's also by herself. This is Pallas Athena, actually at that 28 degree point of Leo, which is where Venus stationed retrograde in July, and also where we had the August 2017 Leo solar eclipse at 28 degrees of Leo. Okay, there's something here. I'm feeling a heavy heart, like a heavy heart around maybe, I mean, it can be fatigue. It can just be exhaustion. It could be like something that you're tired of, like you're tired of figuring it out. You're tired of thinking it through. That could be part of the exhaustion. I'm just feeling this heavy heartedness around something that maybe you're looking for a new start. You're ready for something to begin or to go forward. And maybe there's something that you're like, I can't handle it if it's the same thing from the past. I can't do it again. I don't want to do it again. I'm not going to live on repeat. Repeat is for your favorite songs, right? on your MP3 player. Repeat is not for your heart. So there's something here. It's just, and I'm sure it has to do with this connection to Saturn. You could just kind of feel like, yeah, I'm done. I'm worn out. I don't have it in me. I need to take a break. And if that's what you're feeling, trust it. Trust it. And this Venus, she's working here favorably with Vesta at 6 degrees of Cancer and Astraea at 8 degrees of Cancer. And these are both energies of self-nourishment, purity, innocence, taking care of your own needs. So these energies, these asteroids are supporting Venus, who has a hesitation. So the story could be that she doesn't want to repeat a pattern from that south node. She doesn't want to go through what she's already been through. She has that in her consciousness, even though there's all these connection points here, which are quite social. Libra is a social energy. And here she is wanting to retract and pull back her energy to listen to her heart and her own needs. She doesn't want to repeat something. And that's where there could be a sense of really contemplating your intention, understanding more of who you are, what you need, and trusting what your energy is about at this time. And you know what? That could be exactly the reset. Taking the break, taking the pause, really honoring if you're feeling a stop or even a push-pull. Trust that. Trust that and know that that could be exactly where you are reprogramming, okay? Because sometimes what we don't realize is that the reprogramming and growth, as well as changing our energy, our mindset, our consciousness, comes in these periods of deeper contemplation. And it's understanding what you've already been through, the South Node, and what you don't want to relive or repeat, especially because that South Node is karmic. And it can bring up the karmic connections. It can bring up the karma in relationships, the unresolved karma. And there could be something in you that is feeling that. Like you're just feeling, I can't do it again if it's going to be exactly like it was. But if you have changed, if you are different, if you're more aware of your own needs, then that will change the dynamic in the connections, because then you are showing up differently. And Libra is about how we show up for other people. It's how we present, how you present yourself in connections, how you present your needs, what your interests are, what you're about, what matters to you. It's also where you determine if you're on the same page with somebody or not. And I guess going back to this Mercury here opposing Chiron, I mean, that could be, you've got to have a conversation with somebody about something that you know is going to be hard or painful and you're not looking forward to it. Vice versa. Someone could have a conversation they need to talk to you about, and they're apprehensive and they're not sure how it's going to be received. So there is strong communication energy here. There's also a sense of trusting a pause, trusting the wait. Because yes, a solar eclipse is powerful energy, but it's a new moon. It's when typically the sky is the darkest, but that's not the case with this solar eclipse. It's a ring of fire. And I have a separate podcast for you discussing that. It was a podcast on October 12th. And it talks about how with this solar eclipse, the size of the moon appears smaller than the sun. And it's called a micromoon. which is the opposite of a super moon. So we just had an Aries super full moon. 2 weeks later, now the moon is at its apogee. That means it's the furthest away from Earth in its orbit. It looks like a smaller moon, which means that the emotions are smaller. The lunar consciousness is not as prominent because the sun is lighting up the energy behind the moon. The sun is burning away perhaps something in your emotional body. Perhaps that sun is illuminating and helping to reveal what's been hidden in your feelings or in yourself. Maybe it's shining a light on something that you really need to look at and understand in yourself in regards to connections, especially the karmic ones, or if there's karmic or unconscious energies involved that you're meant to see your own patterns in relations. And this can bring up, your attachment style. Like you realize, oh my goodness, I'm avoidant, or I'm anxious attachment, or whatever it might be. This could bring up your love language that you didn't realize you had. This could bring up something highlighting if you're overly masculine or overly feminine, what's out of balance internally. So there's revelation here, which is different because typically a new moon is the darkest time in the lunar cycle. And this is a new moon, but it's a solar eclipse with the powerful sun scorching away something. What do you need the sun to scorch away so you can have a new start? And what do you need to burn off, burn away, to not repeat anything from the past that doesn't serve you, so that you can move forward with something that is in your heart, something that you've been looking at the practical considerations around. It's like the more I look at this chart, the more I feel like it brings up internal parts of ourselves that maybe we haven't realized. It's been mirrored back to us or projected back to us. That's another part of Libra, is the mirroring and the projections that are involved. It's also about the ties we have with people for reasons we don't always know or understand. And are those healthy? Are they good for you? Do they serve you? Are they weighing down your heart? Are they too confusing? Is it kind of like there's a part of you that's wrestling with something? Because the Libra energy will go back and forth on the teeter-totter. Let me think of it this way. Let me think of it that way. Let me think about this. And so there's something here where this energy feels very contemplative. And it could be too, I'm just looking at the fact that there isn't a lot of fire. There might not be a lot of movement right away. There might not be a lot of movement right away because something is forming after this exact solar eclipse. It's being revealed, it's coming to light, it's coming up, it's showing you what's been in the shadows. And there could be something that you're figuring out, thinking through. You need to discuss it more, talk about it. I feel that there's something powerful here around the reprogramming of that South Node energy. Like, I feel like this is actually a really beautiful thing. Like, whatever is heavy on your mind, whatever it is, it certainly grabbed your attention for some reason. It certainly pulled you into its energy field because the universe is saying, look at this right here. What is this? Is this still true for you? Is this accurate? How do you want to proceed? And that could be something that you feel you need time to think through. And I'm going back to when the South Node will get to 21 degrees of Libra in December, it's almost like something could come to light, and you're thinking it through, because this Venus in Virgo wants to do it right. She wants to be correct. She wants it to work. Like, she's very intentional around how things come into her world and if they stay. And there's something here too that she could be highlighting that is about healing something that maybe you didn't want to look at or didn't realize was requiring your attention. So I'm getting the feeling here that there's more happening inside of us that you're wrestling to share with others. Now, this Mars at 1 degree of Scorpio is trining Saturn. So that actually has a tendency to regulate Mars in Scorpio, which is all or nothing. It's either I'm going to go fast and break every speed limit, or I'm at a dead stop. And the trine to Saturn regulates that energy, that impulse control, requires you to really be aware of what you're doing. What are you doing? and to stay tapped into that. And then it does have a lovely grand trine with these two asteroids in Cancer, again, Vesta and Astraea. So there could be something that you're internally moving through that's like coming back home to yourself in a new way. And then it does create a kite back to that Venus. So we keep coming back to Venus in Virgo, who's in a mutual reception with Mercury in Libra. Mutual reception means they're in each other's sign of rulership, so they support each other, they're buddies. And this means that Virgo energy doesn't have to solve it all on its own. It is important to maybe talk it out with somebody you trust. Whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're contemplating, whatever is maybe heavy on your heart, whatever you've been through that you're like, I really don't want to go through this cycle again. And keep in mind, as I mentioned, how the nodes move in 9-year cycles. This is a 9-year cycle that's beginning. So what are you choosing for this 9-year cycle at 21 degrees of Libra in your chart? And that choice might be determined by somebody else. Because with the Libra energy, again, it's the other, where the other person brings in something into your world, into your life, or has a development that affects you. And of course, you could be the other for somebody else. But this is really an interesting chart because it has this energy of, let me sit and think this through. There's something I'm reprogramming. There's something I need to really be clearer on. And, both the sun and the moon are going to come to a square with this Pluto, which is now direct at 27 Capricorn, 53 minutes. And this Pluto is still squaring the nodes of fate, which is deep karmic shifts that are difficult. They're not simple or clear, they're complicated. Okay, so it's a complicated energy. And I feel like there's meant to be something in this solar eclipse that you're meant to see and understand with yourself, to get clear on it, to purify this. There's also something about the practical application. And it feels like it's meant to take you on a different path, but it's not easy. again, it's complicated and it could feel like all this stuff is tangled up around it, or it's like, why can't this just be clearer? Why can't this just be more simple? Because you're actually working with more energies than perhaps you even see at times. But this is where a lot of growth occurs. And for all the ways this is in the Libra themes and expressions in your chart, you could even feel like you have to retract into yourself to go into this North Node of understanding what your desire is now, what that new chapter is, or what that, it could feel like a risk. It could feel like I'm doing something different with my life. Who's it going to affect? So there feels like there's big questions here because you're changing something, like you're really potentially closing out big karma and things that you personally don't want to be involved in anymore, whether that's in your own energy or in those around you. But this could be something that also then it brings about a new start. Now, of course, I'm speaking in generalities and everyone's going to have different experiences of this. This can also be beautiful new beginnings that you're ready to do differently. You're ready to do a work relationship differently. You're ready to negotiate in a new way. You're ready to communicate with greater internal strength and power. You're ready to do something in an energy exchange with others because you're not wanting to repeat an old pattern. You've grown through it, you've changed, you've shifted, and that's now how you're showing up. Also, this is the first Libra solar eclipse we've had since 2005, because the last time the North Node and South Node were in Aries and Libra, we only had Libra lunar eclipses in that cycle. There were 3 Libra lunar eclipses. So here we have the strength of the sun of that solar eclipse rebirthing something for you. Maybe you've been waiting a long time. Your heart is ready. Your heart is open. Your energy is willing. Your energy is open. You know, this can be beautiful for new potentials to finally show up and come through. So I'm going to leave it on that note for you. And I'll be back shortly and we'll take a look at the upcoming Taurus lunar eclipse, which is our last Taurus eclipse in the cycle as well. So I'll have that video up for you shortly. Also, please check out the Nodes of Fate class I have for you that discusses the importance of this South Node in Libra, North Node in Aries. That's designed to show you more of what you're moving into and what you're ready to begin, because you've realized where you've been, maybe what's worked for others. Now it's time to look at what works for you. So do check out that course so you can dive into even more of these energies in your own chart. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful. Thank you for your likes, your subscribes, your comments, and thanks for sharing this in your groups and with others who would also enjoy understanding more about how this Libra solar eclipse may be showing up for them. Take good care, and I'll see you back here soon.